They got the wrong title for this movie.
What do you mean?
This should not be called Jason Takes Manhattan. This should be called Jason Slowly Drifts Towards Manhattan.
On a big, giant cruise ship?
I guess, yeah. It just takes forever.
It's like an old Navy freighter that takes like 3/4 of the movie to get to Manhattan.
God damn, it takes so long.
Yeah, like it reminded me of Muppets Take Manhattan immediately, and I was excited because that's a wonderful movie.
You mean just the title, not the excruciatingly long boat ride?
The title, okay. Which the Muppets go to New York City and have a wonderful time there. And I thought that's what Jason was going to do.
Just go see a show, catch a show.
Catch a show, kill a few people, Yeah, I thought that was going to be what we see here.
Well, he does one of those things for sure. Welcome to Bad Movies and Beer, the podcast that celebrates the best of the worst
in bad movies, and we enjoy usually some good craft beer.
Hopefully. I'm Cooper.
And I'm Nolan.
And today we are talking about Friday the 13th, Part 8. It's our 8th episode. We thought it'd be a nice little bit of synergy there. Jason Takes Manhattan, kind of.
Boy, does he?
Oh.
I don't know.
So we'll talk about that. And while we talk about it, we're going to enjoy... What are we drinking today? What's the beer?
We have and our beers are generally themed to connect to the movies we're watching. This one was a bit of a stretch, but it's called Aloha Friday.
That is not a stretch at all, man. That's Friday in the name.
It's got Friday in the name. You're right.
Also, I don't know if you know this, Aloha means hello and goodbye. And we spent a lot of time in this movie saying hello to Jason and then goodbye to a bunch of teenagers.
That's true. As with all of the Friday the 13th movies. This is from Longslice Brewery out of Toronto. So excited to try this one out.
This says it is an HPA.
Yeah.
What is an HPA?
I think it means Hawaiian Pale Ale, or maybe
all right. Yeah, no, that sounds right. Well, it says Aloha, right?
Maybe it's hibiscus, because it does say that it's brewed with hibiscus and other some fruity hops. So
could it not be both?
Possibly.
Wait a minute, you're supposed to be the beer expert.
I know. I don't know. HPA seems like a new sort of moniker.
I'm going to go with Hawaiian. I think it is a Hawaiian Pale Ale.
I think that's fair.
All right.
We'll go with that.
We'll
Someone will correct us later. Yeah?
Sure.
Tweet us out, correct us.
Absolutely.
Tell us what we're doing wrong.
Please do.
Here. All right.
Also, we did not mention any of this stuff last week. We just kind of went right into it. We didn't explain the beer, the premise. We didn't explain our rating scale. It was just like full speed into Face Off.
We were just super excited to talk about Face Off. I
feel the opposite about this movie.
You mean you're not excited to talk about how Jason just tears it up in the Big Apple?
Not as excited as I was to talk about Face Off. I will say right away, we get the Paramount logo, some creepy sounds.
It was the standard, Jason.
At one point, I have not seen a lot of the Friday the 13th movies. I've seen the first one for sure. I've now seen this one. I'm pretty sure I've seen either 9 or 10, and I've definitely seen Freddy versus Jason. So maybe everyone just knows the answer to this, and I just don't know it. But when he's making those sounds, is he just saying Jason?
I don't think so. I think that that sound is a warning, but I think along with that, definitely in this movie for sure, there was some creepy him saying Jason as a child. The one thing that kind of runs through is he's definitely connected to when he was a child and drowned in that lake in the first one, right?
Well, he starts the movie in a lake, and so for the record, this is the 8th movie in this series, and neither one of us have seen the 7th one. So we kind of quickly realize that there's some key piece of information we're missing from the 7th movie. We looked it up real quick, and the way the 7th movie ends apparently is there's some girl who has superpowers or something, some kind of mystical power, and she's fighting Jason. And she can't actually kill him, but she somehow summons the spirit of her father, who comes out of the lake and grabs Jason and pulls him down into the lake, Crystal Lake, where he drowned originally, chaining him up there, and that's where he's left. So that's where he is at the start of this movie. Footnote, that sounds just batshit crazy. Why is there a lady with superpowers and a ghost of a father? Is this a straight up slasher movie?
I don't know, but I'm kind of intrigued. I feel like it probably is better than the one we just watched.
I mean, that's a dangerous proposition, though, isn't it? After seeing this one, how much further down the well do you want to go here, man?
Maybe we'll revisit this again in our 17th episode or 70th episode.
Something with a 7 in it for sure.
We'll get back there.
Oh,
77. Man. 77th episode, probably.
Yeah, so we get a little footage of New York City, some little scenes showing us some of the local flavor. There's a radio DJ talking about how they live in claustrophobia, and nothing gets the blood pumping like terror We see some crime and rats and filth, heroin use.
Yeah, they're definitely selling New York as the place you want to visit, right? Like,
I think that's the way it was like, though, in like the 70s and 80s. Apparently, it was a real mess before Giuliani like cleaned it up, for lack of a better term.
okay.
But you also see the Statue of Liberty from sort of like a water point of view. And so right away, we just figure that's Jason.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely coming up with that angle or that cinematography to tell you he's sort of floating out of the water or the lake there coming to Manhattan.
We get the same water point of view of a houseboat drifting through what is unmistakably a campground. It's the Crystal Lake campground. We got a couple of high school graduates on there. They get a little shout out from the radio DJ. These two teens are kind of hooking up. And so the guy decides he needs to drop the anchor. That's not a euphemism. Well, not yet. Just needs to park the boat so they don't crash.
Yeah, he needed to stop the boat so that they could actually focus on the extracurricular activities and the underneath of the boat, yes.
Yeah. Now, they sort of realize where they are, and there's a little bit of nervousness. But the guy whose name is Jimmy, he tells the girl, yeah, this is no problem. This guy's dead at the bottom of the lake. And they drop the anchor down there, and Jason is at the bottom of the lake and dead. But when they drop the anchor like hits a power line.
It snags it. So the anchor snags the 3,000 volts. It's very clear to tell us on this, what looks like well-insulated wire.
Oh, it must be so well-insulated.
But somehow the jostling of it from holding the boat down just sends all the electricity right into Jason. So you see him like chained up underneath some stuff. It doesn't come up and like shock or explode the boat or warn the teens at all.
You do see kind of light flashing beneath the surface of the water.
Yeah, they do some light work under there, but they somehow don't figure out that there's any problem.
The girl hears something, and she tells Jimmy to go see what it is. Jimmy goes and takes the look, and he doesn't come back right away. And so then she does the classic, what are you doing? Stop messing around. Like, goes out and looks for him. He jumps out. Well, sorry, someone jumps out with a Jason mask and stabs her in the stomach, but it's like a play knife. It's just Jimmy. He's just pranking her. Yeah. Hilarious. Except the real Jason is on the boat now, and he shoots a harpoon gun at the two of them while they are having sex, misses somehow, even though they're in like a corner of a room on a bed.
I guess they were building some suspense here, right? Like, oh, we just thought Jason would have his first kill real quick, but instead that harpoon misses.
It happens 5 seconds later.
And she scurries out the window.
She does. Meanwhile, Jason doesn't need the harpoon. He just stabs the guy through the chest with a harpoon gun.
Yeah. It was pretty gruesome. Slow motion. They pull it out. It almost looks like he's ripping intestines out with it, but I think it was some of the parts of the harpoon.
It looked like
elastics.
Yeah, a rope or some kind of, I don't know. If it was meant to be intestines, again, just a terrible job on the effects.
Yeah.
He goes stalking around the boat looking for where this girl ran off to. He finds her kind of holed up in the hall. He stabs her with a harpoon, but before he does, she gets to emote what I guess she thinks fear looks. This girl might be the worst actress I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my! It was really bad. The fact that they chose to make it like a 17-second slow-mo stabbing with a harpoon made it all the worse, right? Like, her acting was horrible. The slow-mo stabbing where she could have scurried away or avoided it for the entire time made it so much worse.
Also, this will be the first in a long line of very questionable decisions made by characters about where they try to escape to or how they try to escape. She goes to a part of the boat where anyone finding her will be at a height advantage and there's no way out.
There is no decision at all to try to jump off the boat and swim away. No. As we find out later, it probably wouldn't have mattered because Jason,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, he can teleport, but
God. So she's dead. We get a nice dissolve to a different boat. It's more graduates from that same high school class. They're going on a little cruise, celebrate their graduation. This is where we meet the main character and the final girl of this movie, Rennie, or Renee. They say it kind of both ways throughout the movie.
Yeah, that was kind of confusing that they kept mixing her name up. But
what's especially confusing is she's getting dropped off by, I guess, like a teacher who their relationship is oddly... Rennie's an orphan, we find out, so I guess maybe her teachers have a special interest in her, but this teacher says Rennie's the best student she's ever had. She gives her a nice gift. It's a beautiful kind of antique-looking pen.
Yeah, the way she delivers it, it looks like she's about to give her a piece of jewelry, but ended up being an antique pen. The way she shares it is very romantic and not at all like a teacher-student relationship. It was very strange.
I don't know about romantic. It just seemed far more familial than just teacher-student.
It was kind of weird. I guess she cared for her because she was an orphan and was doing well.
Yeah, it activates some kind of instinct. They get on the boat with the other students. One of the other students is the Admiral's son. This boat has an admiral, even though it's a cruise ship for soon to be like drunken teenagers.
Yeah, it was really weird. And the ship itself did not look like a very like nice cruise ship. Maybe I don't know a lot about cruise ships, but it seemed like they turned like a military boat into a cruise ship that was going down.
Isn't it the kind of ship that warrants an admiral being on board?
No, well, that's definitely true. Well, the only way that it does make sense is if it used to be a military ship and he's sort of like changed into.
He's just like stuck with it.
Yeah,
like he's got
like I'm gonna stay
until the ship or him gets decommissioned. They're just married, basically.
Yeah, exactly. He was staying on the Lazarus forever.
He relinquishes command of the ship to his handsome son, Sean, or he tries to, except Sean immediately makes like 4 mistakes and then quits because he's embarrassed himself.
I just can't live up to your expectations, Dad.
Yeah, on his way out, Sean bumps into a crewman on the ship, a creepy guy who tells him that their voyage is doomed. This guy really just a preternatural knowledge of what's about to happen.
Yeah, I don't... Other than to like try to build suspense, I don't understand why he existed in this movie. He would just pop up to tell them and warn them that they were all going to die.
And how would he know that, though?
Clearly, he could see the future. I don't know. He knew a lot about Jason.
I mean, he's not wrong. We immediately see Jason hanging on to like a pontoon or a something on the
It looked like he grabbed the anchor's chain too. Like he was just climbing.
Is that what
his
it
way
was?
up.
I couldn't tell what it was.
I think so.
The graduates start kind of partying. There's dancing. There's making out. There's skeet shooting.
Yeah, that was
off the side of the boat.
I guess they're giving a reason to put some guns on the boat.
Oh, that's clever. I didn't think about that. That makes a lot of sense, though. And it turns out that Sean is actually sweet on Rennie. He gives her a gift. It's a necklace with the Empire State Building on it. And they're going to go to the top when they get there.
I think it was the Statue of Liberty.
I don't know about that because at the end, aren't they talking about how many stories and whatever? The Statue of Liberty is not measured in stories, is it?
I think so. I think it's the Statue of Liberty still, but we can check back and see that. Yeah.
I don't want to.
All right.
Please don't make me.
Someone
just let us know.
Someone watch it and tell us because we don't want to watch this movie.
I'm going with Empire State Building.
All right.
Either way, there's other students on board. We get to meet them very quickly. I'm just going to refer to them by sort of what they are because their names really aren't important. There is no character development here at all. We get like a rock chick who's recording, I guess, a music video of her playing guitar and an AV nerd who is filming her playing guitar. We also meet Mr. McCulloch, who is Renee's uncle. He's a teacher. He's also very worried about her being on the boat.
You never should have brought her here.
It's up to Rennie to decide what she wants to do.
She doesn't know what she wants.
She has issues. We're not really sure what those issues are. She wants to face her fear, so he agrees to let her stay, and we're off.
Yeah. He was a really weird and fucked up character. She has strange relationships with their teachers and adults.
Yeah, well, their relationships especially strange, we learn later. So the rock chick goes below deck to check out the ambiance and kind of rock out a little bit. She wants the guy to film her there, but he's off doing something else. She gets Jason pretty hard here. She sees him, drops her guitar, runs further below deck, but he's already down there somehow with her guitar. And this is the first case of how did he get there so quickly? How?
So in the movie, Jason walks to build suspense the entire time, except when it needs to push the plot forward to the murder, he immediately teleports there. It's like he's either the slowest and fastest man ever on Earth, or he has developed teleportation.
He's like the slowest, but he knows the best route. So you're going the long way, and because he knows the short way, he just gets there by
walking
walking
through walls. Then, like he gets to go through anything. It's
unbelievable.
But yeah, so this is the first murder. He takes her own axe and smashes her in the brain with it. I like that little play.
Sorry, not a real axe.
No, her guitar, which
axe.
she describes as the axe.
Yeah, later he uses a real axe.
Which makes sense. But I like the creative weapon choice here. The having her go down into the hull on her own to make her own music video is
Then we have a boxing scene. They've brought like a heavy bag on the boat, and there's these two guys boxing, and there's also two girls watching up above. One of them is the prom queen. The other one has a science scholarship. And they're watching this boxer.
Hold on. You ran right by the racism that abounds here. Of course, what race was the science scholarship woman?
I believe she was Asian American.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
And the prom queen was just a white blonde chick.
Yeah, the stereotypes that run rampant in the
Well, you'll never guess what ethnicity the great boxer is either.
Yeah. He's African American.
He is very much so.
Of course, they make.
Yeah. He's also the only African American character in the whole movie.
It's true. It's not a very diverse cast. Absolutely not.
But he's super good at sports. So
yeah.
Woo. Woo, man. So they see him. They're kind of perving out on him. And then they also kind of perving out on a handsome crewman. We got a couple of crewmen on this ship. And then the blonde one decides it's time for a little recreational activity. So I'm like, oh, they're going to fire up some weed or something. No, that's cocaine. They're going to do cocaine on this boat.
Straight to cocaine. She has what looks like a thing of binoculars, but instead of pulling them out, she pulls out a mirror.
Yep.
And she offers it to her friend.
But she doesn't want to lose her science scholarship.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rennie comes along, sees them doing this. She's looking for her dog who ran away. She's a dog on the boat for some reason.
This was weird. Why was the dog with her the entire time? At the very start, I wondered if she was blind or needed the dog. Like it seemed like a service animal. I was like,
maybe you're not that far off. Maybe this is like a therapy animal because of her trauma, her as yet unnamed trauma. Although, did they have therapy animals in the 80s? And if not, why is she bringing a dog on this boat?
I don't know. She's just always with her dog.
She's looking for the dog, can't find the dog. Those girls are worried she's going to narc on them. Meanwhile, Jason is roaming freely throughout the boat, even though there's supposed to be tons of students on there, tons of kids. No one notices him roaming.
The only one who knows he's there is that creepy guy who pops up to spread doom.
Who knew he was there before he was there somehow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Suddenly, we have someone kind of creeping up on these two girls doing cocaine. But it's not Jason, it's Mr. McCulloch. They think because of this, Rennie has narked on them. He is very concerned about the prom queen's science project.
Yeah, she didn't finish her biology project, and if she doesn't give it to him, she's not allowed to participate in any of the off-boat activities.
That's right. So he's going to swing by her room and get that later, and that won't be weird at all.
I really struggled with his character and what was happening here. Like, aren't they on this as sort of like a graduation trip? Why is any of that stuff happening? Like, why is he on top of them for this stuff?
I don't know. He's really just a jerk. He's the stuffed shirt. They picked a great actor for this too, because this guy just looks like a snooty asshole.
He did a good job of portraying the like asshole teacher who like is just there to shut down the good time, right? Like protect his niece, I guess. I don't know. I
think he's just an asshole. He's just the local asshole. We get a short sauna murder scene here.
Ooh, yeah. This one was pretty gruesome. I guess the creativity in the early murders are kind of fun.
Yeah, but it falls apart quickly.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Anyway, Jason grabs one of the hot sauna rocks and just jams it into a dude's chest.
Yeah, it like melts through him and takes him down.
Which I would have to assume that'd be a horrible way to die. Ugh. The prom queen, now convinced that Rennie ratted her out, accidentally knocks Rennie off the boat. Accidentally. And they throw her a life preserver, but the little kid...
So this is where we kind of learn that she can't really swim. Like, she's really struggling. And then all of a sudden we see from underneath an image of a child grab her and sort of pull her under. And we have to make the assumption this is little Jason.
Yeah, and we actually did see him earlier in the movie as well, when she first kind of settles into her room.
Oh, yeah. She has this weird image of him pop up on the like porthole of her room, and it was strange. She's having these visions of this little kid,
and that's the confusing part. Are we to believe she has mental issues? Is she hallucinating? Like, what is this?
Is she actually seeing this little kid? Is he doing this stuff to her? Like,
yeah, that's right. Is he actually pulling her down, or is she just thinking because she can't swim? I don't know. Luckily, her boyfriend, Sean, jumps in, pulls her out. She's clearly traumatized, and Mr. McCulloch is very upset. They can't figure out what's going on here, but luckily, the creepy crewman pops back up, and he lets them know.
You're all gonna die. You're the last ones. He's come back for you. Jason Voorhees.
And again, he just like sense this somehow?
I don't know. He is also like... The way that he's dressed, I guess he does look like a crew member. He's just wearing a toque and his white shirt, and he looks like he belongs there. But yeah, it's strange. And he also seems like he has mental issues, clearly. Like, they don't make him seem like a regular person.
Well, no, especially not later. You'll hear what happens to him later. But this happens. Rennie goes to wash up afterwards, and when she turns the faucet on, blood comes out, or at least kind of reddish water.
Like blood.
And then that kid, the drowning kid from the lake, comes through the mirror, and there's flashing lights, and he grabs her, and he has one eye suddenly for some reason. I don't think he had one eye before. We are both just thoroughly confused at what's going on here.
Yeah, I forgot about this part because it was really weird. Like, smoke started coming out. There was laser lights. It was like he was from another dimension trying to pull her into the mirror.
Like a poltergeist coming through the TV kind of thing.
Yeah, and I didn't understand. Like, this was just all adding. Like, was this happening in her head? I don't think it was. Like, I think it was happening in real life, or it was supposed to be in the movie.
That's clearly never really established. And I wonder if this kind of links back to the previous movie, which clearly involves some supernatural elements, because it seems like this is really happening to her, but then no one else ever witnesses or acknowledges it.
Yeah, so it was very confusing. If you haven't followed all the other ones beyond, or if you have and you know and can explain this to us, please do, because it did not help with,
yes.
Yeah, like,
very confused. Mr. McCulloch goes to check on the prom queen's biology project, and the biology project is that she's drawn some body parts on her semi-naked body.
yeah, so she gets into a bra and underwear and tries to entice him with some champagne, pulls him onto the bed and kisses
It's a trap.
him.
It's a trap, though,
Yeah.
because there's the AV guy recording them. This part to me was insane. Mr. McCulloch now knows he's been videotaped on a bed making out with this teenage girl in her underwear.
Yeah.
And he leaves without getting the tape.
He just he just threatens them, tell them they're going to go nowhere in life, and walks away.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Why you have to get that tape if you're that dude? Your career is fucking over. You're probably going to jail.
Oh, he should be.
He just stomps off angrily. You kids today? What?
Yeah. He definitely didn't make the right choice. We've watched other movies where the teacher's been tried to be lured by students and have made better choices than this.
Are you talking about our pilot episode, Deadly Eyes? Yeah, man. Yeah. That's something. Wayne has a crush on the prom queen. He makes him. Wayne's the AV guy. I don't know why I said his name there. He makes a move on the prom queen. She rejects him, which, you know.
Yeah, she fluffs him off just like the rocker girl had told him she would earlier in the movie.
But you know who overhears this is Jason, and he doesn't seem too happy that she just shot down this video nerd. So he makes moves, moving the prom queen. She gets out of the shower, sees Jason. She kind of pauses by the door. He punches through the door. We got several door punches in this movie also.
Yeah, a lot of those surprise through the wall, through the window, grab onto you moments.
This one's my favorite, though, because he punches through the door, and all he does is pull her robe off.
He does. So we talked about it before. We were surprised somewhat based on how poor this movie was, the lack of nudity. Like,
we thought there'd be more. This is some right
Yeah.
here, though. And we got some at the beginning when those two kids are hooked up on that boat.
Yeah.
But he just rips her robe off. Then he just busts through the door, smashes her off the mirror, grabs a piece of the broken glass. And then this is the greatest cinematic part of this whole movie for me. We get a great cut from her screaming to the boat whistle as they, I guess, continue on their way here.
Yeah, this is when it starts to pick up with the storm, too. It starts to get rough. And
Oh, there's a hell of a storm coming.
yeah, the sea captain just throws that one down there.
He tells us that, and then he takes off for a minute and leaves the controls to his. It's not a co-pilot. What do you call it on that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's co-admiral.
Vice Admiral?
Vice Admiral
Maybe?
sounds right.
I don't know.
Yeah, this is like the part of the movie when I was like, are they ever going to get to New York City? Like,
Oh my! And at this point, we're like not even 30 minutes in.
I know. It really started to get confusing for me. I was like, well, we started out in New York, but all we've done is hang out on this boat and he's murdering teenagers.
We got a lot more boat to get through before we get and even come close to Manhattan. Jason comes out, kills the vice admiral. The admiral finds his body and then immediately gets his throat cut. Then the admiral's son, Sean, finds him propped up at the wheel. Panic starts setting in. He makes an emergency broadcast for everyone to come to the bridge. He calls the Coast Guard, but as soon as he gets through, Jason just severs the line. So the creepy crewman, always helpful, he jumps in and just lets them all know they're all going to die. But he gives them a little more backstory and details. Oh, it's Jason. He was at the bottom of the lake. Now he's not at the bottom of the lake. He's out in the boat. He's going to kill you.
This actor was so bad. Like, the only one who might challenge the first dying girl is this guy, because this scene where he tries to add a little bit of information to it is horrible.
I've got a challenge for you. Name a good actor in this movie.
The guy who plays Jason? He does a really good job of walking slowly and grabbing and picking people up.
Strong silent type.
Yeah.
I guess the guy who plays McCulloch does a good job of being,
An asshole?
yeah, pretty much.
Those two would probably carry it. The Renee character, the lead girl actress, is not good or bad.
That's a great way of describing it.
Like, I'm so
She is
indifferent
a
on her performance.
strikingly average actress.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
The boxer from earlier, he wants to band together and go hunting for Jason. The teacher, Mr. McCulloch, tells him no.
Watch your mouth, young man, and you'll do no such thing. I'm in charge here.
School is out. Look out.
He had some pretty stereotypical but entertaining lines.
I haven't watched the trailer, but if I had to bet money, I'd bet money that line's in the
line's
trailer.
in there.
I think so.
Yeah.
So Rennie goes to drop the anchor, but why would she drop the anchor? Why wouldn't you keep floating to land? There's been an emergency. You don't stop in the middle of the fucking lake.
Yeah, this was
river or
really
whatever.
confusing too. I don't know why the choice. And of course, Sean decides to send his girlfriend off down to the bowels of the boat to drop the anchor alone when they know Jason's there.
Well, they know someone's committing murders. The creepy crewman tells them it's Jason. At the very least, there is a murderer on board, so it's odd that he's in there by herself.
Hey, hon, go down there. Lower the anchor for us, please.
Meanwhile, our science scholarship winner, she finds the prom queen dead. She sees Jason. She runs. She ends up on the dance floor from earlier, and for some inexplicable reason, she is just spinning around, paralyzed with fear, when there are so many exits.
This was really hard to watch. She hits the dance floor and cannot move.
The dance floor is dead center in this room, and as she spins, you see at least 3 different ways she could run away from Jason, and she chooses none of them.
And they do some really weird filming here. Like, Jason gets up really close, and then all of a sudden she keeps spinning and he disappears. And then she keeps spinning until he reappears again, like several seconds and many turns later.
Yeah, and he just chokes her to death, which was the least inspired death in this movie for me.
Yeah, they do a zoom in on her shoes to show her stop moving, and this is one of like must have been 500 zoom in on shoes in this movie.
Oh, the boot shots.
Yeah,
just a ton of boot shots.
They spend a lot of time building suspense by showing shots of boots and shoes.
Just Jason stepping into the frame.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hunting time now. So the boxer and all the other guys, they divide up some weapons. The AV nerd's got a shotgun. He goes looking for that rock chick just to figure out where she went. But some steam in one of the pipes blows off his glasses, and now he can't see. And then someone jumps into the frame and he shoots him. It's the handsome crewman from earlier.
The poor handsome crewman who had 0 lines in the movie. Did he speak? He just even smiled at the girls.
I think he might have said hello to them.
Okay, so girls make advances at him, and then he just gets murdered later. Like,
Yeah, he's dead now.
What a useless character. Why did they introduce that guy?
They needed more bodies for the body count. I don't know.
Is he related to one of the writers or directors? Like, why did you put this guy in
That's
here?
one of my favorite theories.
Yeah.
I feel like we talked about that before, where it's just like someone's like, yeah, I got put my uncle out there.
We just got to get this guy in the movie. I mean, he was handsome. Maybe I him for his looks. But
Oh
I don't
man!
know.
So the AV nerd can't see. So what he does is he uses his camera. He uses the zoom and the lens in his camera to like focus in so we can see stuff. As he's looking at the body, he realizes, oh, damn it, I've just killed the handsome crewman. And then we get another boot shot as Jason steps into the frame. He does the tilt up. It's Jason, and that's pretty much it for the AV nerd.
How does he dispense of our friend AV nerd Wayne?
Well, first he runs. The AV guy runs. He trips. I don't know if he trips over the rock chick's body, but he trips. He finds her body.
Yeah.
Jason picks him up and just throws him into like an electrical panel, a control panel.
It seemed like it was the engine room control panel. Like, he just throws him on top of it, and when he lands on top, the whole thing explodes into
Sparks,
electricity,
explosions.
fire. Yeah, his crotch lights on fire first.
It does. That's the first area that's on fire is just around his dick and balls.
Yeah, and I'm at this point, I'm like, they're not going to make it to New York. They're trying to throw the anchor down. The boat is on fire, and Jason's murdering everyone. How is it even possible that they make it there for any part of this movie?
They are in a lot of trouble. And the next time we see his body, it is really on fire. The whole thing, not just the crotch. That body being on fire actually sets off the fire alarm. There's a kind of a big explosion. And now there's another problem on this boat besides just the murderer. They've also got the whole engine room on fire.
Well, and this is where we start like checking in on the other characters. And for some reason, all of those people who armed themselves decided that it was best to separate and find Jason alone on the boat. And I know that they have to do this in horror movies, but there is no chance this would ever happen in real life.
Yeah, at least some sort of reason. Usually it'll be like, well, I think we should do this. I think we should do this. And they like in Spookies, they split off because one guy wants to do one thing, one guy wants to do something else. In this, there's no conversation. They all just like amble off in different directions.
They give you a reason. Spookies, it was 2 movies put together and edited, and they figured out a way to communicate a reason to us. In this, there is no reason.
So at this point, the hunters become the hunted. Jason is basically teleporting around the boat, killing dudes. He throws one guy off a mast and impales him on something. He throws the boxer off the boat. And then Rennie is in a room again, kind of staring off at another hallucination or vision of this drowning boy.
The drowning boy again, who just becomes more disfigured as the movie happens.
Every time you see him, Jason punches through a window and he's choking her. But then she grabs the pen that she had been gifted earlier, stabs him right in the eye.
And like water gushes out of his eye.
Well, he was underwater. He's probably full of water. He was
Yeah, I
under
guess so.
in the lake for
Made of
God
gushy
knows
water.
how
I
many
know.
years.
Yeah, I thought it was the swamp thing at the start of this movie for sure.
It's kind of look like him, yeah. So now the boat is taking on water, and Mr. McCulloch is walking through the kitchen with a flare gun. We see a very prominent shot of a gleaming knife.
Yeah.
Which you just think, you said right away, like, oh, that's the knife. Jason's going to kill him with that knife. And someone jumps out with the knife, but it's not Jason. It's the creepy crewman who's making all those predictions.
Yeah, the guy who tells us Jason's going to murder, he gets that knife. And this is the guy that actually McCulloch suspected to be the murderer the entire time. So they have a bit of a confrontation there.
But nothing happens really. And then it's time to evacuate the boat. As they're evacuating, they see that creepy crewman again. He jumps out again with the knife, and they're like, McCulloch goes to shoot him with the flare gun, but he just keels over dead because he's got the axe in his back, a real life one, not the guitar.
Yes, exactly. So he's taken one of the axes and murdered the weird creepy guy. Add some suspense here, I guess. This was a weird moment too, because there's supposed to be way more people on the boat. It seems like the one teacher put them all under deck while it was on fire.
That's not really clear though. Someone makes a comment about them being in the restaurant.
Yeah.
Which do they mean kitchen?
I know. I think she convinced them to be in the dining area of the boat, which was under deck. She thought that was a safe place for them to sort of form together.
So they died in an explosion, or they drowned?
They drowned as we see the boat fill with water. Because we do see Sean and Renee try to go underneath to stop the flooding or stop the boat from being on fire. And then all of a sudden it water explodes through and almost washes them away.
I don't know, man. This is not, as with most things in the movie, this is not well explained.
No, absolutely
We're
not.
just all of a sudden went from about 30 people down to 4.
Yeah, we got 4 people about to climb down to a lifeboat.
And they do. They see Jason kind of looking down at them from up on the main part of the boat, but they get in the lifeboat, they get away, and then all of a sudden, out of the water bursts the boxer. He's still alive.
He
went
made
over
it.
the side, but he's all right. So he gets in and they start rowing through some fog, which is these scenes are so low budget.
They are seriously sitting in a studio with 2 people on either end, pushing the boat back and forth as you have someone running a fog machine and making seagull sounds I swear there was someone making noises with their own voice as they're in a Vancouver studio or some shit. It was so bad. I was struggling so hard as they try to row through there. So they're rowing and they're lost. They're yelling at the sea captain for being a sea captain's son or the admiral's son.
He's the captain now. He's the admiral now.
He's getting shit on by McCulloch for not knowing where he's going as they're in a rowboat in the middle of the
Yeah, but he has a fish finder or something.
So hold on, we didn't talk about this yet. How are they going from Crystal? Where did they launch from? How are they crossing?
I believe Crystal Lake. I could be wrong. I believe it's in New Jersey.
Okay, so it's not that far for them to ride along the ocean to get there. Okay, I was struggling here because I was like, how are they getting from wherever Crystal Lake is to?
I think the DJ, one of the radio DJs, might have mentioned something about that.
Okay.
Passing through Crystal Lake on the way to New York. But
all right, that's fair.
Anyway, eventually, after a while of them rowing their boat, they finally see the Statue of Liberty. We've reached Manhattan over an hour into this movie.
There's probably not much left in this movie, right? Almost everyone's dead. Jason's killed all but 5 people who were on this boat. How can they put together
the dog. Don't forget the dog. The dog's in the boat.
The dog's alive too. Sorry. How can they put together some kind of coherent story about spending time in New York together?
Well, so this is where we actually get to one of my least favorite parts of this movie is this ending drags. We're going along at a nice clip, and I get it. You want to spend some time in Manhattan because the movie's called Jason Takes Manhattan. But this next, it's 40 minutes or 35-ish left of movie, and it takes forever.
Yeah, it's horrible. It doesn't make sense. Clearly, this was a poorly conceived idea or title.
I think it was budget based. I believe it was they wanted to do this. They had these Manhattan things happening, and the cost of filming in New York or replicating New York was so expensive that they were just like, "Fuck it, we'll put most of it on a boat."
It's mind-boggling because it is Jason slashes a boat, right? This is nothing to do with Manhattan. It was awful.
Well, they're there now, though, kind of. We get a lot of scenes in alleys and stuff.
It's all port and alley shots that are not taking place in New York City.
I love this. They get off the boat, they get to land, and the lady teacher who was with Rennie at the beginning of the movie just says, "Well, there must be a phone around here somewhere." You're the biggest city in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
In New York, yeah, you can probably find a phone. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they can confidently find a phone.
You're going to find a phone booth at this point, or a store or a place that has a phone.
Something. Anyway, they start walking off. Jason comes out of the water, and I literally yelled. I'm like, how? Were they dragging him in the boat. They've been rowing in a boat for who knows. I don't care how good a swimmer you are. You can't swim that far.
But Jason's immortal and he can teleport. So, of course, it makes sense that he just teleported through the water to the docks.
Damn.
He climbs himself up and starts slowly following them, even though he could teleport and murder them at any time.
This is a poor explanation is what this is.
You don't like my explanation? I think it's perfect.
I don't. You know what else I don't like is I don't like this weird meta thing where he gets out of the water. He sees a billboard with his mask on it.
Yeah.
It turns out it's an advertisement for the fictional Eastern Hockey League.
Yes.
But then he turns and looks at the camera.
Yeah, he gives it almost like a Jason smile, as if there
God
is
damn.
a, like, yeah.
If he had done the like Nick Cage face-off shrug, I would have just turned the movie off. We'd be like,
we'd only be doing...
that's the end of this episode.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. We don't know how it ended, but we're not going to go any further.
So the main characters are walking along. They immediately get mugged because, again, New York is a cesspool. We learned that from the beginning shots. And those muggers decide they're going to take Rennie with them and rape her, I guess.
Yeah, they're going to go have a good time with her. The others say, okay, yeah, you take her.
Well, they say if you try and stop, if you come with, we'll kill you. We'll kill her and you. I
But
guess.
instead, you're going to let her get raped and killed anyway?
Oh, yeah, the boxer, he's a good guy. He wants to go after her, and the Mr. McCullough's like, no, Julius.
We'll find the police.
Yeah, they'll kill her. So they take her to a dark alley, and then I guess these guys are heroin addicts. We're led to believe that
They've shown
because
them do heroin earlier in the movie.
And one of them talks about not having enough heroin, but then they inject her with heroin.
The heroin has no effect on her.
No, oh my God, that's the other thing. Jason comes, he murders the guy who's trying to rape her by literally jamming the heroin needle through his torso. This was like the fucking pipe scene in Commando.
Yeah.
He goes like through the back, spine, rib cage, right out the front, which
But
makes
that was
no
a
sense.
good scene. That was a good scene. This one.
At least that's a steel pipe. This is like
Yeah.
a plastic and whatever needle. He rams the whole thing through there and like his hand also.
Yeah,
It's so whatever.
It was. Yeah, it saves Renee though, so you're like, okay, go, Jason.
It does, but
save Renee.
she's okay. I'm assuming Renee has never done
Renee.
heroin before.
Oh, I would assume so. She wouldn't touch any of the other drugs that were offered
So this
her.
dude just injected her with heroin for the very first time.
Yeah.
And that should knock her on her ass. But instead, she just gets up and runs.
Yeah,
and
just
she's like
scoots
oddly
away.
coherent.
And while she's running, what happens with Jason?
Well, so the other guy comes back and he's like, "Oh man, I forgot my money." Which, like, what? You just robbed people. Why are you walking out without the money? The money
Yeah.
is clearly the most important thing you done for the whole evening.
It was really stupid and contrived, the whole
God,
thing.
man.
And then he takes out his gun and he shoots Jason 6 times. We
Does
know,
nothing.
We know bullets don't affect
Does
Jason.
nothing.
Yeah. And then do we even see his death? Jason
Yeah,
just
he brains the guy in a pipe.
Pummels him onto a pipe. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, so Rennie runs. The boxer finally finds a phone. He goes to call the cops, but suddenly Jason is there. Automatically, he chases him out of the phone booth and onto a roof.
Yeah, this
And
is interesting. Yeah.
Now the boxer has nowhere to go. He's trapped in the roof. Jason's closing in on him. He decides it's time for that boxing training to pay off. And he
Yeah.
starts boxing Jason. But he makes the classic mistake. He punches himself out. Throws too many punches. Jason's just there taking it. He wears himself out till by the end he's whiffing. He's got no force behind these things. And then he just finally concedes that he can't. He's got nothing left. And he tells Jason, "Take your best shot, motherfucker."
And Jason does. He winds up and he does an uppercut. And is it Julius? Julius's head clean off.
He just knocks his
His
head off.
head comes right off. It is
His head goes flying off.
It is just like Killer Clowns of Outer Space. Same moment, except this time the head goes launching off a 2-story building
rolls down another building.
and then crashes into an open garbage can.
A dumpster.
And
And
the
the lid
lid
closes.
shuts and just sort of puts a
Unbelievable.
closing moment on it. And you're just like,
God
wow.
damn it. This was the moment where we were laughing our fucking asses off. This is like when you saw that scene in Commando with the garden shed, like
Yes.
just howling laughter because the whole thing, the head is clearly a rubber head. There's
Oh,
no
God,
blood.
yeah. No.
It's the bloody stump on the end of the head, but the wound is clean somehow.
Yeah.
It just rolls into the dumpster, fucking lid closes, absolute perfect, like it's good, just unbelievable.
It was hilarious.
That's the highlight of this movie, by the way.
Oh
The
god! Yeah, if
absolute
you're
highlight.
gonna watch the movie, watch it only for this moment. Really, it
Yeah.
definitely added at least a point in entertainment for me.
You can skip the rest.
Yeah.
Trust me. Mr. McCulloch finds the cops and they find Rennie, and the cop goes to take them to the station. Mr. McCulloch says, "Well, our first order of business is we have to find Julius." He's the boxer. And when the cop goes to get in the car, I guess like a light comes on or something, and they see Julius's head is just in the car. His severed head is just there.
Somehow
in the car.
it seems to be hanging from the mirror at the front of the car,
Yeah.
but there's nothing attached to it.
Oh,
It's
and then it falls
magically
down.
floating, and then it falls. Yeah.
Jason kills the cop. Rennie jumps behind the wheel. She drives away. She runs down Jason as she does it. as she's driving, she has another hallucination with these weird halting jump cuts of her getting closer to this kid. It was like, we were like, is the DVD fucked up or something?
Yeah,
like, we were very
that
confused.
was a really strange choice to make that moment look like she was hallucinating. Like, I guess maybe they're saying the drugs are kicking in at this point, but they've also been giving us those hallucinations the entire time. So it was really strange. I don't know why that happened, but at the end of those hallucinations, she sort of smashes through the young Jason deformed child and crashes.
She runs right into a wall.
Crashes right into that wall.
And then the car explodes. And at this point, I guess we both lost track of this because at a certain point in the near future, we're like, wait, where's the lady teacher?
Apparently she was still in the car. We had to look it up later because we were like, why did she just disappear? But
Well,
everyone
yeah.
else got out really easily, so
And
I have
they,
no
they
idea.
get
what's
out and then the car explodes. So
Yeah,
and they don't really seem too choked up that she was in that car and exploded.
Yeah,
Like, they don't-
for that creepy relationship that like Rennie had with her at the start of the movie, she does not give a fuck that her like favorite teacher just got exploded.
No, but I'll tell you what happens now. We finally get to see the source of Rennie's trauma because as there's this explosion, there's little fire all over the place. There's kind of a puddle of gasoline or something on fire, and she's staring deep into it. And she starts to see, and so do we, like a boat rowing across this puddle.
Yes.
We dissolve to an actual boat in a lake. It's got a young Rennie in it and a slightly younger version of Mr. McCulloch.
No, it was just him with like dyed hair.
That's
It's
all
the
it
exact
was.
same-
Yeah, they didn't de-age him at all.
No,
They
it was the
just a dye
exact
job.
same actor with the dye job, and he had like a sweater vest rather than a suit on. I'm pretty sure.
Yep, he thinks it's time for her to learn how to swim.
You don't want to end up drowning like that Voorhees boy, do you? He never learned how to swim either. He's still in the bottom of this lake, and he's ready to pull down anybody who falls in and can't swim.
You're telling a lie.
Am I? Let's find out.
So he just throws her in the lake.
Yeah, what the is this motivation? Like, you tell her a scary story about Jason still being drowned in that lake, and that if she doesn't swim, he's going to pull you under. And then, of course, she goes under, and then we see this small child pulling her under. Like,
But again, we don't know if that's happening in real life or is that just in her head. I'm wondering if it's like a metaphor. If she's just like, she can't swim, she's sinking, and so in her mind, it's the kid pulling
that she's
her
getting
down.
pulled down. But there's no explanation for it. And why does he keep popping up in mirrors and portholes and all kinds of other things?
I don't know. We go back to the present. She realizes where her trauma comes from. She confronts Mr. McCulloch about it, and then she stomps off. Sean chases after her. Jason finally shows up to kill McCulloch, which I've been waiting for this whole movie.
So this entire time, though, they have only been in back alleys and in like a port area. So
Saving that budget.
There's been no New York City, so Jason has followed the same people. He's killed a couple drug addicts, and now he's still chasing them. He's got McCulloch, and McCulloch decides, instead of running into a public space, to go where?
He runs into a building,
Yeah.
and then immediately is thrown out of that building by Jason, who was also somehow in the building.
So he throws him out this glass window, and McCulloch sort of struggles and tries to get away, but instead Jason gets him. And how does he finish
He
him off?
drowns him in a barrel full of filth water that we saw in the opening sequence.
Yeah, it was like just straight sludge water with
There
like
was
a
a rat
creepy
in it.
drowning
Oh,
rat.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So McCulloch's toast, finally. And now Sean chases down Rennie, and we get a little monologue here. She comes clean about how her parents died in a car crash, and she says that everyone she cares about, she loses. And Sean very confidently, too confidently at this point, is like, it's not going to happen this time. Which, dude, like everyone you know just died in the last 30 minutes. I might back off of that little promise there. But yeah, they start making out. They start making out right there in this filthy alley.
And you know that once they're on this like hobo couch making out, that things are not going to go well for them.
Jason appears immediately and chases them. They run into a subway and they just make it into a car. They run down the stairs. The car, they jump in, the doors closed. They made it, but Jason can teleport, so he's in the subway car also.
Yeah, this is the first.
Look out of nowhere.
This is the first piece of New York we get is them going into a subway. We don't see how they get there because that would cost too much to
Nope.
show.
There's a brief glimmer of a yellow cab going by.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that was, you see a yellow cab, you see a guy hawking newspapers, right? And you're like, okay. So we're in New York now. We finally made it. We're no longer like in back alley lots. And they're in the subway.
He's in the subway. He starts chasing them through the subway cars. There's a million other people on the subway, and none of them blink or move.
Yeah, no one gives a that.
Swamp Thing in a hockey mask is dripping swamp water through this subway car as he chases two kids screaming for help, and everyone's just like, yeah, I'm minding my own business.
Isn't that how New York works, though, right?
A little bit. Yeah, you know what? I mean, if I was in that subway car, I wouldn't try to help him. I'd be like, oh, yes, I'm staying. I'm staying out of it. No, sir.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
to stop Jason from murdering them, we see Sean pull the emergency brake, and we see Jason for the first time be vulnerable. He falls over.
Well, the sudden stopping of the train is what
Yeah.
does it. They get out of the car. Jason follows them out. Sean jumps and pushes Jason onto the tracks where he is electrocuted.
6,000 volts this time. They very clearly mark that track has 6,000 volts.
Yeah.
I guess it takes double to knock down a Jason.
I guess.
We think maybe he's dead.
Well, they kind of kick him a little bit to see if he's moving. He's not. They emerge up into Times Square, and now we finally get into a little New York scene. They do like a little pan around. We see the whole thing. And Sean, once again, extremely confident, just tells her it's over.
What an asshole. Like, he, as soon as you say that, you know that it's not over.
Oh, of course not.
I'm pretty sure this scene in like Times Square where they took all that video, was that 97% of the budget?
Oh, they spent like maybe half a day in New York. We got to pump this all out right now.
Holy.
And this is it. Jason's chasing them again. They go to a diner. They ask to call the cops, but the phone is broken in the diner. Jason, so's the door because Jason just punches through the door. He
this was
explodes
kinda
through this door.
hilarious.
She just opened the door. No, that. He busts in for effect. And immediately there's a big guy behind the counter. He comes out to be like, hey, what's your problem? Jason just immediately dispatches the guy.
Yep.
Like one arm throws him. They managed to escape out the back, and then Sean and Rennie run into the sewers. And at this point, we started getting really excited, hoping that maybe we'd have like another Friday the 13th horror crossover.
Yeah.
Maybe they run into a chud.
I was hoping for anything. I would have been fine with Ninja Turtles. Anything that would have popped out and made this movie better. Of course, they run out of the diner into a trap place, and they decide the sewer is the place to go. They start running through the sewers.
Out jumps, not Jason this time, but some guy, some like sewer
I think he was like a city engineer. He was like working on the
some
sewers.
sewer worker.
Yeah.
He tells them they got to get out of there right now because toxic waste floods into the sewers at midnight every night.
That sounds like a likely thing, right? Let's let toxic waste
Well, that's what,
bust through the sewers.
causes the chuds.
Well, which would
You've
be
seen
super
Chud,
exciting.
And if you haven't, we're gonna see it soon.
well, I can't wait because
Yeah.
I'm excited.
So they get on their way, but Jason jumps out and attacks the sewer worker. He kills him, but this one in like silhouette view for some reason.
Yeah, this
It's
one
a
was
shadow.
only a shadow other than the blood splatter on the wall.
Yeah.
Although
It's got to be budget, right? It must be. Like we're running out of money. F- it.
it might have been one of the more convincing deaths in the entire movie.
It is
though.
better. It's better
They
than
should
some of them.
Shadow
You're
killed
not
most
wrong.
of them, I feel.
Yep. So as she's running away, Sean's been knocked out by the Jason attack. Rennie finds a toxic waste bucket. She opens the lid, throws it at Jason. He pulls off his mask and his face is melting. Now these effects are straight out of Spookies. This is just like a low budget, but low budget, but reasonably high quality.
Yeah, that wasn't horrible in terms of you don't get to see Jason's face very often, I don't think, in the story. So when they do reveal it, I think it's supposed to be impactful. And it did have a kind of an interesting feel. They showed it and it started to melt, and I wondered whether they did it with like claymation or something, like how they were doing those changes. Like obviously now it'd be really easy to do. Well, I don't know about easy; it'd be a lot of work, but it would be really sort of
CG
convincing to do in CG.
They would just CG it. Yeah,
you
but
could
this
CG it.
was an actual effect, which I liked a lot. She gets away. She grabs Sean. They're climbing out, and Jason's right behind them on the ladder. But just as they're almost out, and he's almost got them, the toxic waste river just comes pouring through the sewer, and it sweeps away Jason. After first he like pukes up a bunch of water for some reason. It's really strange.
Yeah, this was weird. The light started swinging. It was telling you it was coming. He gets smashed by this. He's got a hold of her ankle, but even though he's got superhuman strength, he can't pull like Rennie down because I don't know. Their connection in previous years, the little him, I don't know what happens, but she gets away. There's a really weird flashback moment in here as he's getting doused by this water, and you're sort of seeing some of his childhood come after that. I don't know.
I guess. I don't. Yeah. Again, not really clear. He gets swept away, but he kind of emerges again. He's in really rough shape now. Now his head is like deformed and melting and stuff. And then when the toxic waste all kind of like flows out later on,
Yeah,
we're
it
left
took
with
seconds for that toxic waste to come through too, which was really
I
weird.
feel like that might have been later. I feel like they're almost like asleep on the ladder. They've been there for a while,
What?
aren't they? I swear, she's
No.
hugging the ladder, and they're both kind of
I
like.
think they've both been there for a long time as it washes
Maybe.
away. I don't know.
Either way, as it washes away, we see child Jason just laying there.
Yeah, he's not deformed. He's like the way that he was when he went under that lake when those camp counselors were being negligent, right? And it was really strange. Why did he turn back into a child there?
Is that real? Is that in her head also? How crazy is this lady? Like, and then his mask just kind of floats away.
Yeah, is he dead? How the hell is there another one? We know that there is.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I guess maybe that was in her head and she imagined it, or I don't know. But
Was the
either
whole
way,
thing in her head? Who was murdering all these people?
great question, because at one point we almost go back to that same like puddle of gasoline. Like it looks like we're about to go back to that same shot, and I'm like, oh, was this whole thing just like a hallucination and he actually got them and killed them all? But I don't know, man.
Did she murder them all?
Ooh, that's an interesting theory.
Right? Like, was this her having these hallucinations about this traumatic event that involved Jason in
She
the
was
lake?
Jason all along?
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, she just sees a big guy in a hockey mask
Yeah.
and she's killing everyone. Maybe.
I
maybe
feel like-
maybe the fall into the water was a little too much for her. Or seeing the water, or being on that boat.
Yeah.
I think we're really stretching to add meaning to what is a piece of shit movie that they you know
I
what,
hope that's true. I hope it's true.
if they didn't think about these things, we shouldn't be thinking about them either. Anyway, they're finally safe and they get out of the thing, and this is where they talk about finally going up to the 20th story of what I think is the Empire State Building and what you think is the Statue of Liberty.
Who do they get reunited with here?
Well, I was gonna say someone's watching them, and this is meant to be the one last like, oh is it Jason?
Yeah.
But no, it's the dog.
It's Toby.
The dog is okay.
Toby the dog is back, and he's fine, and we still don't understand why she has a dog the entire time.
Or how he managed to somehow locate her in the biggest city in the world after she's been all over the city, subway, diner,
Yeah.
sewer.
Maybe Toby was Jason.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was. I don't
This is
know.
such- this is such horseshit.
I'm trying to. I was hoping
Yeah.
for you to have a freeze frame because it needed something to merit like
I would
an
have
ending.
killed for a freeze
And-
frame at that point.
And it was just a slow motion pan into Times Square. We had like a garbage Motorola ad, basically. I wonder if
it's a
Motorola
happy
threw
ending.
the money, and then they go to the scroll. We got the two of them alive.
I would hope that if Motorola gave them money, they could have used it for better something, effects, screenwriting.
This was the most expensive one yet. They spent over $5 million on this
my
movie.
mind.
I don't understand how they
Where
spent
did the
that
money go?
I don't know.
There's no name actors. There's no f***ing actors. The effects are minimal.
Yeah, how much did it cost to
They were in
sink
New
that
York for
boat
15 minutes.
to blow up all those
God
fires
damn.
and do the boat? I don't
There's
know.
no way. This is awful. So we've reached the point in the movie where we were going to rate it. We rated on a 2 scales of 1 to 10. 1 to 10 for how bad it is. 1 to 10 for how enjoyable it is. I'm going to go first. 1 to 10 for how bad it is. This movie, I don't want to get in the habit of doing this. I did it last week for Face Off. This movie's a f***ing 10. It's awful.
Back to back 10s. Wow. I don't think I gave Face Off a 10.
You gave it a 9.
Yeah, so I wasn't there. This movie is absolutely a f***ing 10.
If we had, you know what? If we had watched this first, there's no way I would have given Face Off a 10 because I would have been like, Face Off is not as bad as
that.
Friday the 13th.
And we can't
Part
do
8.
it with comparisons, though. Otherwise,
No, you're right.
No other movie is going to reach the shithole that this is.
And to be fair, the premise of this is actually probably more realistic than the premise of Face Off. So for me,
That has a connection, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was never scared. It was super f***ing confusing. I didn't understand why there was a kid Jason and adult Jason. So I agree. This is definitely a 10 for bad.
wow, so it's in play. We have a chance for our first ever crit 20.
Yeah, but we know that that's
it's not
not
gonna
in
happen.
play. We
There's
know
no-
that
there's no
the
f***ing
enjoyable
chance.
scale. You can tell based on listening to our rant through this entire, almost an
Almost an
hour long
hour, yeah.
episode that there's no way this is getting a 10.
Hey, you know what? If we were right now podcasting in this movie, we still wouldn't be in f***ing Manhattan.
We'd still be on a boat with Jason.
God
This
damn.
movie should be called f***ing Friday the 13th Terrible Teen Cruise. I don't know.
I guess the point is we could f***ing title this podcast Bad Movies and Beer, Coop and Nolan Take Manhattan. It's going to be about the same level of effectiveness. Jesus.
I agree.
So how enjoyable for you?
Well, I really struggled to rate this one for enjoyability because I really wanted to give it a 1. Like I was on the
Wow.
I don't know my lowest rating, but I don't even think it's anywhere close to a 1.
I think you gave Body of Evidence a 3. I believe
that my
which
lowest
is
one?
pretty close to a 1.
Well, that's pretty low. I'm giving this one a 2.
Ooh.
It is a 2, and the only reason it gets 2 rather than the 1 is because the head punch off made me laugh my ass off.
Yes, the head punch off was worth it. Yeah.
Because that's shown up in 2 movies we're watching, I definitely see a theme here, right?
That's the
Like
thing, I
Killer
guess,
Clowns, and in this movie, the f***ing one punch head off is hilarious. And if you put in a movie, I'm giving you an enjoyability factor for it.
Ooh, it's going to be your
If it-
version of
yeah.
the freeze
Oh
frame?
yeah, if it comes up, I'm
So
gonna
you
give it a
punch
plus.
off someone's head. Plus 1.
plus one
from
me.
Noel.
But it is a garbage movie. I will never watch it again. I don't recommend that anyone listening to this watches it.
Man, we were back on it. We had a good streak going. Well, not a good streak. We had one movie. All the movies you got on to see that again. And last week we got one where you finally agreed that you would watch it again. And
I
this
know.
week we are right back to the dumpster.
Oh, this is a sewer fire of a movie.
Yeah, I don't need to ever watch this again either. Which I've watched most movies more than once just to see, like, even if it's bad, like
And
how
this
bad
is
was
our
it?
virgin watching this movie, right? Like we could
not
try to give it
good.
another chance, but there's
And I
no
don't,
way.
I don't feel like seeing the one that came before this would have made it better. I gave this a 4, and I can't tell you why I gave it a 4 instead of like a 2 or a 3.
Really?
It was my impulse. I mean, the
Okay.
head punching went a long way with me too, because that was so silly.
And it happened near the end of the movie.
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, I was invested to some degree, and like I wanted McCulloch to die, and I laughed at a couple parts. And this is almost like a paint by numbers kind of
Did you
80s slasher.
Did you meet the like notes that it needed? Yeah.
So I don't know.
still can't do it.
I don't
I'm
know why
happy
it was
with
a
my
4.
two.
I
I'm
said
happy
4,
with
but
my
I
two.
don't know why.
All right. Well, how
I
about this Aloha Friday HPA?
I'll be honest. I didn't really like it either. It was a little too flowery for me.
Wow. We almost never dislike the beers we drink. And I don't think it was a bad beer, but I will say I don't know if it was the down I'm feeling from this movie.
You didn't like it either.
It did not. I guess it was like the acting of Rennie in this movie. It didn't move me in any way. Yeah. It didn't make me happy or upset. So I guess it was okay.
Just a neutral beer.
Yeah, I'm willing to give Longslice another shot at another beer. Or
Based purely on their website, I definitely want to check out what else they have to offer.
Their website's awesome.
It's
This
amazing.
sweet 80s feel. They got this 8-bit. They also have a beer that's like Hasta La Vista, and I think we need to give that one a chance just because it makes so much sense with our
Yeah, we could probably
podcast.
find a movie for that.
We're gonna give them another chance. I guess HPA Hawaiian Pale Ales are not my thing.
So next week, we're going to be looking at what I believe is the worst James Bond movie, Moonraker.
I have no idea what this is about. I assume it involves outer space and lasers and other shit, but
It does, which
that sounds super exciting. I'm looking forward to watching this. I've never seen it, so I have no idea. Who's the James Bond for this one?
Roger Moore. Sir
Roger Moore.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
how can he do something bad?
He is pretty charming, but
Yeah.
this movie is, in my opinion, a colossal train wreck. So
Oh, I'm excited to watch it then.
we'll find out next week. In the meantime, thank you so much for listening. Please, if you have not already, follow us on Twitter, Instagram at the BMB Podcast. Send us movie suggestions, the BMB Podcast at gmail.com. Like, share, subscribe, and watch some bad movies, drink some beer.
Yeah, thank you for listening. Make sure you
Keep it stabby.
keep it wet.
Oh, good Lord. New York has a new problem.